It always has been.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Shriner. A couple things I want to talk about today. You know, it's kind of took a dive for the quiet, and I kind of expected that. Usually when I start to giggle, it's just because I don't even know where to begin. A lot of stuff going on, so. All right. So I've been teaching you guys about the White Hat Alliance, this whole White Knight thing, and this New Age alien agenda thing, and all this stuff. So a couple more points I want to make about that tonight. I'm not going to talk all night about them because the Father has had me going into teaching, and, you know, one of the mandates he gave me years ago was lead my people back to me. And, folks, if his people weren't so far off base, they wouldn't need led back. Y'all are so off base. And so I've been leading his people back to him that will listen, because some of you have so much fear. You're in fear to hear truth or to change your old beliefs because they pounded in you that you're going to go to hell. That if you dare question anything, you're going to go to hell. If you're not in this church, this religion, you're going to go to hell. I know, I've been there. It's liberating getting out of it. When the Father told me to get out of the churches, that was liberating. The most liberating thing I've ever done. Because you're really not going to learn the truth in all things and learn how to build a relationship with Him direct until you get out of the churches. The churches are controlling you. They're controlling you. They suppress you. They teach you to be singers, not doers. You sing about being in the Lord's army. You don't learn how to actually do something and be in His army. And so I'm going to start teaching you some things tonight, but a couple of things I want to talk about first. Because this is the fun stuff for me. This is stuff that's always going on in the background that you never hear anywhere else. I was talking last time about Donald Trump's alliance and how he's part of the Knight Templars. And we know that the Vatican is, you have the white pope and then you have the black pope. And the black pope is the black nobility. It's the whole New World Order. It's Lucifer in the Vatican. The black pope answers directly to him, and so does the white pope. So I don't see why there's any real difference between the white pope and the black pope, because when you're sitting the Vatican, which is a huge abomination, they call it a church, on top of Satan's underground city. I mean, really, folks, do you think the white pope is actually, maybe he's supposed to be the nice guy, come up as the nice deceiver, the nice liar, the nice stealer and robber and thief and baby raping, human eating piece of dung that he is. And that's just how the Vatican rolls, folks. It's a filthy abomination. Did you realize, and I never knew this because I'm not Catholic, but in the Catholic 10 Commandments, they actually took out the commandment, thou shalt have no idols before me, because all you see at the Vatican is idols. These statues and these idols on all their buildings. The place is covered with them. And they actually took that commandment out of the 10 Commandments for the Catholic Bible. They put something else in about loving the Lord thy God. They put the scripture in, loving the Lord thy God with all their heart, mind, and soul, or whatever. And, of course, to them, God is Lucifer. So that term can be defined loosely. But it's such a filthy abomination. But that is where, because like Ashtar is in, they're all in. Sananda's here, Maitreya, they're all here, folks. They were here just the other night fighting outside my house. I heard the fight going on. I'm sitting in here working at the time, and I heard this bang hit up against my window, like there was two beings or several fighting outside, and they brushed up against the window. Yeah. So I know they're here. And so I was asking the Father, and he told me that they're they're staying at the Vatican directing the Pope. And if you've noticed some of the Pope's brilliant announcements coming out lately, causing all this ruckus in Mexico, because he wants there to be an uprising, an influx of immigrants, Mexican, into America, because he wants to take America's Bibles and guns. This is how they plan to get control of America. And so, if you see all this crazy stuff coming from the Pope, it's because he's actually just working indirectly with the Ashtar Command. Now, let's look at the whole hypocrisy of this Ashtar Command, because they're the ones playing white knights, white hats, the ones who want to make the world a better place. They want to bring the kingdom of God on earth. They want to make earth an earthly paradise. They want to revamp our economic system so all the countries are on the same playing level, finances. They want to revamp third world countries. They want to trash first world countries into third world countries. And, basically, in the guise of all their lying and deceit, they still sit in the background. And they're directing the Vatican to come against the Christians, because it doesn't matter if the New World Order, Kabbalistic Khazarian Jews, the gay mafia, all of them are in control, or the nicer lying ones who come in white, the White Alliance, the White Knights, White Hats, blah, blah. They all want to kill the Christians. It doesn't matter which side you're on, they hate the Christians. They hate the Christians. And the Father told me at the beginning of this year that persecution against his people was going to come with a vengeance this year. And it is, folks. And so they're over at the Vatican directing this war against Christians in America. So you can see it coming, folks. It's coming. So that is who Donald Trump's whole alliance is with. He's with the White Knights. The whole thing with their agenda will come into play once Trump is inaugurated. Supposedly he is in a war and a feud against the black nobility, which would be the Jesuit Pope, and the whole New World Order Khazarians. It's all just a fluke, folks. It's just they both serve the same God, Lucifer, no matter what side they're on. And so they've been sending out videos, and some of it was pretty funny. You have to be careful, because a lot of them walk and talk the role that they're Christians, but they're going to lead you straight to hell, folks, if you believe and follow them. And so, they're going to lead you straight into hell. Jesus is not here. He's not here with 4 archangels. He's not taking free will off the earth in 5 days. I think when the video came out, it said 7 days. Free will would be removed off the earth. And, free will isn't something you earn. It's something you're born with. It's granted. Everybody is born with free will. You have free will. The only way you don't have free will is if you're in prison, which obviously maybe that's the mass technology or mass terminology. You're all going to be in prison. I'm putting you all in prison. The fake Jesus is here. Sananda is here. And they have their mimicry archangels. They're not the real ones. Sananda is not the real Son of God. He's the Jesus of the Ashtar Command. And yet these Christians in this whole New Age agenda want you to believe, with their biblical rhetoric and their spiritual speech, that they're true-blown believers in the Son of God, and yet they peddle this garbage, that he's here with 4 of his archangels. Come on, folks. Come on. I have been warning about this stuff for almost 16 years now. It's all unraveling. Everything I've ever said is unraveling. It hasn't changed a bit. And so it seems like you end up in the constant, repetitive arguments over who the Antichrist is, or the false beast, or whatever. It's just like, you know what, I tell people, go read my stuff, because I've been saying the same stuff for 15 years now. It hasn't changed. And so this is where we're headed, folks. And Obama was hiding out in Hawaii. People thought he was still there. He's not in Hawaii. In fact, I just posted on my Facebook exactly where he's at. He's on it's not the Potomac River, it's the other one that runs alongside Maryland. I think it's called the Anacostia River. The Potomac runs on one side, the Virginia side, and the Anacostia River runs on the other one. And he's on an island in the Anacostia River, probably somewhere near that Navy Yard that's right there. But he moved there. He's been hiding there because he was waiting for something to happen, probably hoping something would happen with the Electoral College election in Congress on the 6th. And, of course, nothing happened. And now their last-ditch attempt is to stop the inauguration on the 20th. And that's in 5 days. And that's not going to happen. And so Obama's just going to have to deal with it. And go whimper off. Go turn your batteries off. Go get recharged. Go lay on your little lab tables. And wait till you're needed again. That's what all it sums up to, folks. When he started out, he had 12 clones. They had them in a lab under the White House. And now he's down to like 4 clones. And if you'll notice the eyes, I can usually see it in the eyes if I see Obama, which I don't normally do because I don't pay attention to TV very much. So I watch a lot of videos. And you can see Maitreya. Maitreya overtakes Obama a lot. Until their last-ditch effort to stay in power, because he's really mad. He's not mad because he wanted to do something great for America. He hates America. His whole role is to come in and destroy it. Everybody wants to be the one in power when Lucifer arrives. Everybody wants to be in power when he arrives. And so that's what they all hope for and fight for, is that they're the ones in power when he comes. I don't know why. It's just a big honor to know them. And Obama's never really been into it anyway. He's always been one of these wafflers, one foot on one side of the fence and one on the other. And most of the stuff being attributed to him is really Valerie Jarrett and all them who handle him. Valerie Jarrett's been his handler for years. And so they're the ones pushing all these executive orders and last-minute stuff. Well, he just took off to Hawaii to play golf because he has no say. And if you notice in his actions, he's telling you, I have no say in this. I'm just going to go play golf. Because it's the people back in Washington, Valerie Jarrett and all of his handlers, the White House staff, who are the ones pushing all this insane stuff that's been going on the last several weeks. And Obama's telling you by his actions, I'm out of here. I'm going to go play golf. I got no say in this. And he really doesn't. If you read the orders that he has supposedly put out, and he says, I, Barack Obama, that is code. That is I, clone Obama, because Barack is the name all the clones use. Barry doesn't use the name Barack. He doesn't go around and say, I'm Barack. I'm Barry. Barry Soetoro. He does not use the name Barack Obama, although he will answer to it. If he was, somebody called him Obama, he would answer to that. But Barack is the code name for all the clones. So all these clones putting out executive orders, really? Since when do the American people have to take orders from robots? All of that should be declared null and void. It'll be interesting to see what Trump does when he comes in. I don't think too much is going to change. I'm holding my tongue until then. But my word to the Trump administration is this. I'm here, and I may work in the background, but you will know who I am. Every administration does. You'll know who I am. And to all of them, you can't keep suppressing the truth forever. It's time for disclosure, and that includes to stop suppressing me. Take me off your little blacklist. Because I'm going to start throwing a little temper tantrum about being on the blacklist. I'm kind of getting tired of it. My voice will be heard, or I will start destroying everything you have. None of you are a match for me in the Most High. I know you listen to this radio show. And so if you want to keep the peace, all this toddler nonsense that you've thrown at me the last several years, kidnapping my dogs, breaking my car down, all this little toddler, childish stuff you guys pull all the time, all of it's going to stop because you've already lost billions of dollars in bases. That's what's so insane. And so insane about us, but you make it so easy. You make it so easy. And so this is the year that you either stop the nonsense, take me off your blacklist, and let my voice be heard, or you just lose everything you have. And you should see my target list. And I'll let you know that it starts with Shambhala. It's going to start with your little crystal city. Because I'm just going to start with the big bangs first. You know, I was taking on the Queen for several months last year, which had led up to her just quitting. She just quit. She had enough. So, try me. Try me. More of you will be running for the hills. I can guarantee you that. And I have some parting gifts for Obama as he leaves the door on the 20th. I'm going to have some fun with that one. You know, you guys have caused me so much grief over these years. Yeah. It's disclosure time. And you know what? I've put up videos disclosing who I am. And the Father is going to let me have a lot more fun here on Earth. So this year is going to be fun. I can guarantee it. Although I probably will spend a lot of my time in teaching and leading the Lord's people back to Him because your wolves lead them so far astray. And it really is crunch time for 2017. Now, I'll tell you, folks, that 2018 is the target year. 2018, September, they want to roll out the full enforcement of the Mark of the Beast by September 2018. They need time to set it up before then. So they wanted to come in and arrive, and they're here. They're at the Vatican. They're outside my window half the time. They're here to start pulling out what they need to start getting this rolling because they want it worldwide by September of 2018, which means they have to have a time for setup, which is what they're here to do now. So all this stuff with the currency reset, which they want to do first because that was the bribe to get their feet in the door, and all the New Agers saying, hallelujah, come on in, Jesus, and your 4 archangels. Seriously, folks? But that's how they bribe their way in. They're going to do the currency reset and try to get the world's economies in sync because they need everybody aligned under the same computer. People see this currency realignment and reset as something good, but let me tell you the real reason. The real reason is because all the nation's computers are on different systems and not in sync and alignment with each other, and they need to pull all of the world together under one computer that runs the banking and economics. And so that's why they threw out all this currency reset and currency realignment stuff, because through the guise of economics, they'll pull all of the world's computers under the control of one main computer. Another thing was that there were too many humans in control of these computers. And you have all these banks around the world, too many humans involved at the top positions. They've all been replaced. They had to systematically go through and replace all these humans with Lucifer's people. And his people are reptilians. When I say Lucifer's people, I'm not talking about Satanists who worship him. At this point, I'm talking about reptilians, the ones who fell with him. They're in control. And so they had to be trained. and take over every country and all the top computers, because they're going to pull everything in to the mark of the beast. They have to have full control of computers. So when you have full control of the computers, you do that through the money. You control the money. And that's how it's going to come in. And that's why they don't care if Trump comes in and says, look, I'm getting rid of Obamacare, and all the Christians go, yay, because on page whatever, it was enforcing chip implantation. Okay, and nobody wanted that. Nobody got Obamacare except for the stupid ones. Anyway, I think they said the only people on Obamacare were the vets and people on Medicare already, on welfare. Nobody else took it. And so you get rid of all that, because there was a provision in Obamacare that mandated that everybody get the RFID chip implants. Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief, saying, yay, no more Obamacare. But it wasn't about health care. It wasn't about health care. It's about the money. It's about the money. Revelation chapter 13 tells us it's about the money, that no man can buy or sell unless he has the name, number, image of the beast in or on his hands or forehead. And so it's about the money, folks. It's not about health care. So under the guise of a white knight, white hat alignment through the tall whites, which are the Ashtar Command, this whole New Age thing, they are taking control of the world's money supply. And guess who's going to have control over the computer that's going to have control over all of the nations of the world? The Chinese. I've always told you, watch for the Chinese, folks. Watch the Chinese. They own America. They're going to take over America. And through this whole agenda, it's going to be the Chinese. That's not because they're the smartest. If they were the smartest, their country, since they're the oldest race on Earth, they would have gold streets over there. You think the people over there would be walking on streets of gold or something. They're the oldest race on Earth, the Chinese. And yet one of the most problematic. Why do the Chinese get to control the Western societies under this white hat alliance? Why isn't it Germany? It was Hitler who was the one who threw shade on all this to begin with back in World War I and II. He was the one building up this whole Third Reich, Fourth Reich thing with the Hitler, because he wanted an alliance with the Aryan nation, the tall whites. So where do the Chinese come in? Well, I've always told you, Lucifer hates humans. He can't stand them. Can't stand them. They're toys to him. He's going to trust his own people when he comes in. So he fully intends on killing off the humans. Well, who's closer to him than anybody on earth is his own offspring? And so Cain's seed's all jumping up and down, Bush and all them. Yay, we're Cain's seed. We're Cain's kids. Yeah, well, guess who the Chinese are? They're Lilith's kids. Guess who the Ashtar Command is? They're Lilith's kids. Yeah, Lilith's coming to take power. And she doesn't do anything aside from Lucifer either. But the Chinese are not Adam's sons. Cain was still raised by Adam, even though it was Lucifer's son. He was raised by Adam and Eve to a certain point. Adam eventually made them move away from him and his children, especially after Cain killed Abel, because he didn't want Cain hurting his other children. But Lilith's kids were always raised by Lucifer's people, which were inhabited the whole ancient Sumeria, whole Middle East area over there. That's why the Chinese were dominant in the Middle East before they moved east. So I had all those ancient stargates that they've been trying to get hold of. What is that, the Eridu Gate? All those ancient gates over there in Iraq? Yeah, That's all part of the ancient cities of Lucifer's people when they lived on Earth. When they all came down here during the Garden of Eden phase. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden. Lucifer and all his people were over there in ancient Samaria setting up shop. Real history, folks. It's always more fascinating and real than the narratives everybody else wants you to buy is the only things going on at the time. People living in grass huts, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, the Chinese are Lucifer's kids, and so, and they're not Adam's kids. They were Lucifer's kids, so that's why I trust them. He can handle them farther than Israel. Israel is marked for death. Israel is marked for persecution and death, and that's us. And so, and all those who have embraced Yeshua, I know I have a huge listening audience in China. It's always been one of my largest listening audiences for the show. It's because they can hear the truth, and they know I speak the truth. And they know that Yahushua's salvation is open to them, too. They can embrace Yahushua as their Savior. And many of them are dying daily. The government over there is brutal. They kill their Christians left and right. They'll kill them daily just for believing in the Son of God. But what's the Bible say? Hold on to your faith even in death, and you'll receive the crown of a martyr. They'll receive martyr crowns in heaven. Just because you're born of a different race or bloodline does not mean you cannot embrace Yahushua's salvation. I know there's some people that teach that, and it floors me that they would teach that. The salvation is open to all. He made it available to all people, regardless of country, nation, race, bloodline. And more of them have died probably than Christians themselves in our countries. Because you don't hear about all the persecution over there. You don't hear about the 40 million Russians that were starved to death in famines just because they were Christians and they wanted to get rid of the Christians in Russia. Oh, you don't hear about that. I've been screaming about American government targeting these nations where Christians are and using oil wars as an excuse. Syria. They weren't in the deserts fighting for land for pipelines. They were in the cities where Christians are, destroying the cities, targeting the people. They started it with Yugoslavia. They started it in Ukraine. They started it in Africa and Syria. They wiped out Christians in Africa to replace them with cloned Muslim radicals. I can't even say the human. Lucifer says everybody in the Middle East is just a clone. It's a mess. It's a cesspool, a mess of mixed DNA. He hates it over there. They all hate it over there. That's why they're over here. Say, why is he under the Vatican? Why is he always in America? Because they hate Israel. They hate the Middle East. They already control Israel. You know, all the Christians get hyped every time this Third Temple stuff comes up. That's a Masonic plan. It was the Masons' plan to have a Third Temple in Israel. And so they engineered events and engineered politics. But if you'll notice, Timothy LaHaye and the whole Left Behind series, they never had a temple. They never had the temple. They never got it built. In that entire Left Behind series. Where was the Antichrist? In a palace in the middle of the desert somewhere, in what you would call probably the Green Zone in Iraq. I thought the correlation was pretty uncanny when they were putting up the Green Zone in Iraq and building the Siege Vatican Palace over there. I knew they were building it for Lucifer. But it struck me that the whole Left Behind series was kind of the same thing where their leader, the Antichrist, was in a palace in the desert, and when he went to Israel, there was no temple rebuilt there. There was no temple. We are the temple. We are the temple. His body went from a physical, the whole temple thing went from a physical thing to a bodily and spiritual thing. Yahushua said, if you destroy this temple, I'll raise it in 3 days. He wasn't talking about the physical temple in Jerusalem. He was talking about his body, and he did. He was killed and he rose again in 3 days. He was talking about his body as being the temple of God. And those who have the Lord's Spirit within them are his temple, are the temples of God. Their bodies are temples. And so the whole thing with Israel wanting to build a temple in Jerusalem and reinstitute sacrifices, that's insane. I don't know what's a bigger abomination and blasphemy thing they could do. Because if they were to start reinstituting sacrifices, that is like the ultimate rejection of Yeshua's perfect sacrifice on the cross. That's the ultimate rejection. And so why any church in the world would support Israel rebuilding a temple, it just blows me away. It just blows me away. And then they rally behind Netanyahu like he's some kind of god in Christianity patriotism. Really? You know, he eats babies, he rapes them, he kills them. You know, he sacrifices to Lucifer, he worships at the altar of Lucifer. Do you know anything about what you're really doing? Do you know anything about the leaders of Israel? Do you know what Zionism is? Zionism is not the same thing as biblical terms where you think Zionism means Jerusalem. Zionism is the Hebrew term, or their term, for a New World Order. They use the term Zionism. You can be a Zionist without being a Jew because it has nothing to do with spiritual significance. It's politics. It's politics. And Zionists are Satanists, and they worship Lucifer. The entire Jewish government worships Lucifer. And these Christian churches over here in America be sending them their support. Really? Now you want to know why the Father is so angry? And he says he stands on the door outside. He's not part of these churches? They support Satanists, and then they claim they love Jesus. They love Yahushua. Really? And y'all be supporting this third temple going up? Really? The Lord doesn't regather his people to Israel until he arrives at the second coming of Christ. That's when he regathers his people to Israel. People always want to pull all the stuff out of scriptures. Oh, look, Israel became a nation in 1948, and then this generation won't pass, and then they start going down their timelines. It's all Masonic engineering by the Masons. Nobody's over in Israel now but Satanists and fake Jews. That's why the Bible says in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 that they are fake Jews. They're not real Jews because they're Satanists. They're Khazarians. They worship the Kabbalah. They worship the Talmud. Do you know what the Talmud says? The Talmud says Jesus is burning in hot excrement in hell, and so is his mother. That's how much they love Yahushua and Mary. Oh, but rally the drums for them, folks. Yeah, let's throw our support to Israel. Are you kidding me? You know, when I first started exposing the Talmud on my website, the Watcher Files, back in 2001, 2002, Al Gore came up against me. They were all fighting up against me. I lost my PayPal account. I said, fine, I don't care. PayPal said, take off your hate speech articles or you're going to lose your PayPal account. I said, what do you mean hate speech articles? I'm just exposing what this book says. I'm telling you what's in the Talmud. It's well, you're anti-Semitic. I said, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm Israelite. My bloodline goes all the way back to King David. Don't tell me I'm anti-Semitic. They couldn't get anywhere, and they said, well, if you don't take those articles off, you're going to lose your PayPal account, and you won't be able to raise donations on your website. I said, fine, take it. And I haven't had a PayPal account since. They wanted to use that as blackmail. Take off these articles on your website. Really? No. Because I already decided when I started putting up websites that I was going to stick by the truth, and I wasn't going to be bullied, and I wasn't going to be intimidated. People ask, why don't you have a PayPal account? No, long story. And then, my Orgone Blasters war against Lucifer, Google used to have a checkout. And who was that? I want to say it was Rumsfeld. but I think it was Roby, because Roby really had it up for me. Between him and Rumsfeld, they couldn't, Dumb and Dumber, they couldn't get any worse. And so they were attacking Google to cancel me as a client, so I couldn't take Google payments for my organ blasters. And so eventually, first they said no. And then they went after them. I'm not sure what the story is on that, but eventually Google Checkout just went bust, and now Google Wallet is the replacement for what Google Checkout used to be. So I no longer have a credit card processor. Well, la-dee-da. You know what? People can mail in their orders. I'm not going to be bullied by these people. I'm not run by money. Ooh, okay, I don't have a PayPal account. Ooh, okay. You know, some of these fraudsters online, my biggest enemies, are always spitting fire, make $25,000 a month through PayPal for being liars and haters. I don't roll that way. I don't roll that way. I got a roof over my head. My bills are getting paid every month. It's inconvenient, but you know what? I'm not bending. I'm not bending to them and their evil ways, their bullyings and their tactics and their intimidations. I don't bend. So where was I? Oh, I was harping about the temple. Yeah, and everybody's going on about this month about the nations passing a resolution to divide Israel. You know what's funny is I asked the Father about that, because he has nothing to say about it. Nothing. We ended up talking about some parting gifts for Obama instead, because stuff I had to get cleared through the Father and the Council. And we started talking about that instead. He isn't concerned about them dividing Israel up and all that. And before, if you'll notice, the government always said, well, we're going to do this. Every time they went against Israel, some kind of disaster happened on America's land. There was a hurricane and you know, whatever, disasters would hit America. It wasn't him, it was Russia. He said it was Russia. It wasn't him, it was Russia. People want to think God's backing up their apostate beliefs when it's just Russia. Y'all need to be getting back to your roots. Back to our roots. I posted a link on my page the other day about turn back to Yahweh.com, my website, Key of David. Why I love David so much? Because David was a Torah observer and follower. The key of David was the Torah. The same Torah that the churches today say is dead, gone, replaced by the New Testament. Really? Well, what do you think you're doing during the 1,000-year millennial reign? Or do you stop reading that part of the Bible when the kings are required to visit Jerusalem once a year and honor the Passover? You just ignore that stuff? It doesn't suit your theologies. The Torah is alive today as it was 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. In fact, this was the system that the Father laid down for his people on earth. And if you can't adhere to this system, because the Torah is basically a system, it guides you in all things, in economics, in health, in finances, every aspect of life. And if you can't adhere to this system, how are you going to adapt to heaven? You think he'd want you in heaven? Because heaven is run by a system. It's the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God is very structured, and there's a system. And so when he created earth, he put a system on earth. And you people are so bold and so brazen with your theologies and your prophecies that you can say, I'm not following that. When is the rapture happening? You're all so bold and stupid. Really? And you wonder why most of you are left? Because you refuse to listen. You're not listening. The Father says to embrace the Torah, follow his ways, do the things he says. Follow his commandments. Oh, well, all the commandments have been done away with. All we have to do is love our neighbor as ourselves. Really? Really? That's not what Yeshua said. That's what the apostles said. They didn't say do away with the Torah. They didn't say color Easter eggs and ignore the Passover, ignore the times and the appointed times of the Father, and embrace pagan Satanism holidays and call it a spiritual revival. That's why you're all left. 90% of you will be left because you can't get through your thick skulls that you're not doing it right. You're following paganisms. You're not sitting at the Father's feet. You're sitting at the feet of apostasy, and you can't see the difference. You're worshiping a different Messiah. You know, I've been screaming for years there's two different Messiahs being presented in the New Testament. And when people say, oh, I don't even want to get in that argument, don't even say the P word again. This is the Paul word. This is a liar and a fraud set in by the Masons of the day to destroy and sabotage Christianity and lead people astray. Started his own gospel, started his own ministry, had his own apostles and disciples away from the 12 that Yeshua had established. Oh, there's a whole history hidden there that people don't even see, don't even know. But he preaches his own gospel. He leads people away from Yeshua and what and the apostles taught. They didn't declare the Torah dead after Yeshua rose from the grave. They didn't say, okay, it's dead. It's replaced now by grace. Go do what you want. They didn't say that. They kept to the appointed times and feasts during their lifetimes on earth. Y'all need to go back to what the early church really studied, because you won't believe me. You don't want to listen to me. You want to spit fire at me. Go back to what the early churches believed and why they were persecuted. Why there were so many huge persecutions throughout the ages to snuff out the Christians off the earth so they could rewrite the narratives, so they could rewrite what you were to believe. They wanted you to believe what the Roman Catholic Church wanted you to believe. What Constantine said you could believe. What Kevin Bacon, Shakespeare, said you should believe. He wrote the KJV. You think Jesus talks like that? Thou shalt not. Gather thee down to the river. No, he doesn't speak like that. Neither does the Father. They don't speak in British English. Some of you have nowhere near a relationship with either one that you even know what they sound like or how they speak. And so when people channel garbage online, you fall for everything they say because it sounds spiritual. Most of it's just channeled New Age garbage. I reject about 95% of what I read online. It's all channeled garbage. You go look at my words and the way me and the Father talk to each other, and you tell me that's what you're reading from these other people. Because he ain't going to talk to me any different than he would somebody else. There'll be more terms of endearment, and I play around with him a lot because my history goes back with him a lot longer. But he doesn't speak in New Age lingo. He doesn't speak in Sanandatak lingo. You know, so many people set themselves up as watchmen and prophets. And then all they do, they think their job as a watchman is to sound the alarms on rapture dates. First of all, a date will never come from the Lord. He doesn't live in linear time. And if you really were a watchman, then how did all this crap sneak in and catch everybody unaware? You know, where were the watchmen back in the 30s and 40s when the government was signing treaties with the aliens? Where were the watchmen when the gay agenda was hitting Hollywood? Everybody was turning into transgenders. Everybody was signing their soul to the devil. Where were the watchmen then, sounding the alarms to alert the people as to what was going on? Why do we have to wait until 2016 and 2017 to learn this stuff? Seriously? Because a shepherd, if you're a watchman, you're sounding the alarms about everything. It's about sounding the alarms when the enemies are coming at the wall, they're coming through the door. It's about sounding the alarms, waking people up. Instead, they told you, turn your TVs off, don't watch it, it's evil. Really? Just turn your back, just don't watch it and let it pervade our society and have nothing to say about it? Just turn your back and do nothing? Churches should have been setting up groups and alliances and boycotts and fighting against it. Nobody did anything. The Masons that run the churches put the people to sleep. That's the same thing they do today. Put them to sleep. The Masons. When you are a Mason, the first thing you do is take an oath to the God of light. Hello? Oh, and I love it when these Masons come online and say, I'm a Mason, and everything you're saying is wrong. Really? Did you take the oath? Because the first oath you take to the God of light. And the second one is you lie to everybody who asks you about Masonry. You take an oath to lie. So why would I even want to talk to you? You took an oath to lie. You know, I've had 2 uncles very high-ranking in Masonry. Everybody knows somebody in Masonry. It's garbage. Garbage. They don't even know half their own stuff. Half of them don't even know who Albert Pike is. But the big guys do. You can't belong in a secret society and be a born-again Christian, put it that way. They're incompatible. They're incompatible. Because a secret society takes oaths and worships Lucifer. So now you look at your TBN network and your Joyce Meyer and Kenneth Copeland and all these people involved with secret societies because they have to be to have their own show on TV. And tell me they're born-again Christians. Joel Osteen just shapeshifts on TV all the time. They get soul scalped. They get taken over. They're witches. These women, they join the witches' cruise. They're witches. The men are in the Masons. They're a nasty bunch. And they're the ones most Christians are being led by. They're not using discernment on who they're allowing to lead and teach them. You know, a shepherd feeds their flock. They give them food. They give them knowledge. They nurture them. They help them to grow in the Father. They lead them to the Father. Those shepherds, they just fleece their sheep. They fleece them. They fleece them. The good shepherd protects, leads, teaches. They lead you to hell, folks. Those TV false shepherds, they'll lead you to hell. Anyway, waiting around for the 20th to come, to the inauguration of Trump, and then we move on to the last regime on Earth. Rumblings about the Queen being dead. No, she's not dead. She's alive. I saw her in church last week. Yeah, like the Queen would go to church. Hello. Maybe one of her clones, for appearance's sake. I heard she was dead, too, so I don't know. How do you kill a clone? Because they've all been cloned since the 1950s when the original Queen Elizabeth was killed. Did you know the original Queen wouldn't go along with Satan's agenda on Earth, so they killed her and replaced her? She didn't want it. She didn't want anything to do with it. That's what I heard. So they killed her and replaced her with a clone. And I heard that the clone they replaced her with was a transgender anyway, because she didn't have birth to those kids. Those kids aren't hers. Charles ain't hers. Has to be because she was a transgender. And they killed William and Harry. I don't think they were replaced with transgenders, but I know that Princess Kate is a transgender, and the one Harry's going to marry is a tranny. Because that's the big thing now. If you're in the government, you have to have a tranny wife. That's the big thing. You can't even run for politics now and be considered presidential material unless you have a tranny wife. And that goes back to Barbara Bush. Reagan probably, too. So the 20th, Trump gets in, and we start this whole Knight Templar, White Alliance thing against the Dark Nobility, which is the Pope, the Jesuits on Earth, the Jesuit Army and the White Templars. That's basically what it's going to come down to. Well, lucky for them, I already destroyed 10 levels of the NSA base out in Utah. And CIA base in Virginia, they built that new one because we destroyed the old one. That one was blown up. And I don't know how much they've done over the last couple of years to restore it. But that one can always be taken out again. The FBI lost their base underneath their building, their headquarters in D.C., wouldn't leave my dog alone. So they lost that one. That really set the Queen off. Yeah, they do retarded stuff like this all the time. They abduct my dogs, and so retaliation, I take out their bases. Is it really worth several $1 billion in bases just to mess with me? So they lost the FBI headquarters. They went to the NSA building, and they didn't want them there. They're all running out of places to hide. They lost their base in New Zealand to go to Australia. Oh, and they give the White Knights credit for that one or something. I don't know why. But yeah, like I said, I've got a whole list of targets for this year. They want to keep me on the blacklist. I'm not going to play nice anymore, you know. I'm just going to start. Anyway, folks, support this ministry, the best on the planet. Support our ongoing war against Lucifer's strongholds. You can go to SherryShriner.com, hit the donate button, donate page, and support me to stay on the air and stay online. Till next week, everybody, God bless.